Welcome back to Mentor Nation, the podcast for entrepreneurs looking for real mentorship, real strategies, and real stories so that you can go out and build your dreams. I'm your host, John Abbas, and it's time for another episode, so buckle your seatbelt and let's go. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. It's your host, John Abbas here with a guest that has a really unique story, full of life lessons and definitely some plot twists. Bradley is an author, a serial entrepreneur, the host of the Dropping Bombs podcast, but most notably, he is the founder and CEO of Lightspeed VT. What is Lightspeed VT, you might be asking? It's the platform that many of the greatest thought leaders and companies use to deliver their content to audiences, including many of you. His clients include Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, the UFC, and over 50,000 other businesses. So in today's episode, we just talk a lot about life, mistakes, making pivots instead of quitting. We just have a real and raw conversation about pushing for success and not giving up. I will give you a heads up before we start, though. Brad is very real and very raw, and this episode definitely has some explicit content. But if you really pay attention, you will find some nuggets in this interview that will truly inspire you and give you the courage to think bigger, do more, and push further. And for those of you that are in your 30s or higher, you will love this interview because Brad was a late bloomer in the world of success, with him only getting started and gaining traction in his late 30s. With that being said, I'm excited to have him on. Let's get started with the show. All right, Brad, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for being on.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today, I really am excited because I want to talk about your book coming out called The Hard Way. And if I'm not mistaken, is this your first book?
Yes, it is. It's the first book. I plan on writing between 3 and 5 over the next 5 or 10 years, but it is my very first book.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been following you for some time. I'm surprised you haven't written 2 or 3 or 4, but I was looking at the concept from one of your other interviews, and I think it's such an interesting idea, and I'm really excited for you to teach the listeners some of the concepts in the book. And I know that it isn't out yet, but I'm guessing that the premise of the book is helping people by sharing some of the biggest lessons you learned the hard way on the road to success so that people can save some frustration.
100%. Basically, everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. Because you're going to learn this stuff one way or the other.
That's
the
right.
question is are you going to learn it the hard way or the smart way? And the smart way is to learn through somebody else's mistakes rather than go and make your own. So they're life stories that taught me a lot of things, and so it's entertaining, but ultimately what it does is exactly what you said. It teaches you things that will make your life better, quicker, and ultimately, give you a roadmap.
That's awesome. Now, before we get into the book, I wanted to see if we could just go into your story a little bit because it's a really good one. And I want the audience to hear about your journey so that they can understand some of the things that you've built and why you learned the hard way so they have a little context with your book. But my first question is so you were kicked out of your house at 16 for not mowing the lawn. Is that right?
That is correct. You've done your research.
It's kind of fucked up, I think, but is it because your dad was just mean or was it because you were kind of arrogant?
It might have been a combination. My dad wasn't mean. He was he would be what I call matter of fact,
right?
Meaning, and I get a lot of that from him, but he was just as a matter of fact. So like he said, I needed to mow the lawn, and I probably had procrastinated a couple times already. But at the end of the day, I came home one night or one afternoon. He wasn't home. I was just there hanging out with my friend, getting ready to do something. And he shows up. He'd been drinking, which he did a lot. And when he was drunk, he could be either real cool or a real dick. And my dad would fight a lot. Like he'd come home from the bars with bloody knuckles and, he liked to fight. So anyway, at the end of the day, when he came home, he looked at me and said, "Did you mow the lawn?" And I could smell the alcohol and I could see in his eyes, it seemed like he's in one of those not good moods. So I didn't want to lie to him at all. So I just said, "I forgot," which was my general excuse at the time. He looked at me and he said, "I think you need to hit the fucking road." And then he looked at my friend Brian and he said, "You too, Slick." And Brian knew who he was, and nobody like really wanted to be on the wrong side of my dad. So basically I grabbed a bag with clothes and left and never went back.
So you were on your own ever since then, 16 years old.
16. But don't worry, man. I had a 77 Camaro, full tank of gas, and a half pack of Camel Lights.
So you had a lot of women, but not a lot of money at that time.
I didn't have any money. Matter of fact, the Camaro, I'd gotten one of my girlfriends to actually co-sign for me.
That's awesome. So what did you do next?
Well, obviously I couch surfed a little bit, started hanging out with my buddies, realized that school was foolish. No need to go to school. Made good choices like any 16-year-old on their own would. Started dropping out of school, being a fool. All non-void, walking around like I'm Pretty Boy Floyd. Turned sticked up kid. Look what I done did. Got sent up for an 8-year bid. No, just joking. Ultimately, I just went out there and acted like a little hooligan, right? Hung out with my buddies, partied, dropped out of high school, thought I was going to be a movie star, ran off to LA, slept on the beach, homeless on the beach, came back home. I'm 50 years old. So when you say like, what'd you do? I always think literally, what did I do? Shit, I partied and acted like a dipshit for 20 years.
Wow.
So for the next 20 years, I was a dipshit, dude, a jack off, a freaking loser, a dumbass, unenlightened, unaware, foolish, blind, in a daze, walking around thinking I knew everything, learning everything the hard way, learning how to freaking get my ass kicked, learning how to lose money, learning how to not invest correctly, learning how to get ripped off, learning how to fucking read contracts, learning how to freaking close people. At the end of the day, there was good and bad in it. But for the next 20 years, bro, I just proceeded to be what I consider a jack off. In other words, I wasn't a bad dude.
Right.
But I definitely wasn't a success candidate.
Gotcha. Now, did you have big dreams at that time? Like, were you always, okay, so you had a big vision. You were just making bad choices.
Dude, at 6 years old, teacher came around, asked everybody what they wanted to do. They asked me what I wanted to do at 6 years old. I said, I'm going to be a billionaire. The teacher said, "Oh, you mean you're going to be a businessman? You're going to own a business? You're going to be a businessman?" And I said, "No, I'm going to be a billionaire." And they literally told my mom and dad, who came to the school at the parent teacher conference, I still remember it, "Did you know that your son thinks he's going to be a billionaire?" And they said, "Oh yeah?" And she said, "Yeah, pretty ambitious, wouldn't you say?" And she was basically trying to say, "I think you need to go give your kid some sense of reality." I don't know because I was so young, but I remember them saying that. But yeah, dude, I said I'm going to be a billionaire at 6 years old.
Well, today they'd give you Adderall for saying something.
No, they tried to back then, believe it or not. I didn't find that out till recently. My stepmom, because I grew up with my stepmom. My stepmom said that they told my parents that I need to be on Adderall and whatever that Ritalin, and they said no. And what's funny is I remember back in second grade, I think, through the fourth grade, they let me drink coffee in class so I'd sleep on a couch. So literally the teacher let me sleep during class so I would not be so fucking hyper and obnoxious and fucking class clown. I was the only kid in school allowed to, I got there, I drank coffee. The teacher, her name was Mrs. Bassett. She'd bring me International Foods Irish cream. And I don't know if as a kid, I didn't really enjoy coffee. I still don't like coffee without cream. If I don't have cream, I wouldn't drink coffee.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I had International Foods Irish mocha cream, and she'd make me a cup of coffee. I'd drink it, and within 15 minutes, man, I was sleeping on the couch. Coffee puts me to sleep. So they wouldn't give me Ritalin because my parents refused, but they did give me coffee.
That's crazy. So for 20 years, you messed up. Now, did you learn a lot of skills along the way, or did that come after you kind of made the decision and started focusing?
No, I mean, I was naturally aware and talented and intelligent, and I was blessed with an abundance of common sense. So I learned quite a bit along the way. However, that's the hard way. That's right. The name of the book. Like, I learned so much shit the hard way, you can't imagine. you know? So why would you have to go on your own and learn these things, especially if you're building a business, especially if you're trying to, transition this thing called life and find a place where you're happy? Are you supposed to really believe that money is not the right pursuit? Because I'm here to tell you, there's stories and lessons that I can teach you that would give you the answer you're looking for. And, that's what the book's about. Like what is true in this world? And I don't bullshit people. You may not like the book. You may not like the answers, but they're going to be the truth. And they're also based on stories in my life that ultimately taught me a lesson. Like, for example, at 2 years old, I was found dead on the kitchen floor. I just drank turpentine from underneath the sink. My dad had always told me not to go under the sink. I'd get spanked to stay out of underneath the sink. Now, again, this is a story, so I cannot verify. At 2 years old, I do not remember getting spanked for going underneath the sink, and I don't remember underneath the sink. But apparently, I found it, and I drank turpentine and literally fell over, turned blue, and was legally dead. My dad grabs this little kid, rushes him to the hospital, which wasn't very far away in this little town we lived in, and barged in the doors, and the nurse basically assumed that I was passed. And she's told my dad to sit down and she will grab somebody. And my dad said, fuck you, like he's blue, he's not moving, I need help. And she said, have patience, I will find somebody. And then basically he blew past her, kicked in the door, screamed for a doctor. Doctor came running over, saw me, boom, called an emergency, team to come over and obviously revived me, because here I am today. So what's that lesson? Well, to me, first of all, it teaches me that, death is the best teacher you can get. The problem is we can't afford the lessons. Well, I was fortunate enough to learn from death, and that is the absolute best teacher you can fucking learn from. The problem is you don't want to learn from it. However, I did, so I share that lesson first. And the lesson is basically to not have patience. Like, in certain cases, patience obviously are a good thing to have. But when you're talking about building a business, building success, going after goals, attaining your dreams, there is no such thing as patience. Like, do not have patience when it comes to attaining your goals. Why? Well, because, my friend, instead of being patient, realizing things take time, and not being upset with challenge, trouble, and delay, which is what patience means.
Right.
I encourage you and advise you to do the opposite. Like, get upset, get passionate, get into it, raise your level of activity, raise your level of intention, scream, speak, go nuts. Why? Because that's how you get it, man. You're going to get it faster if you put more intensity into it. Don't sit back and think, oh, I'm supposed to have patience. It'll come when it comes. Bullshit, dude. Go get it. You know why people tell you to have patience? Because they don't have the answer. They don't know what the fuck to tell you. So they basically just say, have patience, fucker. Why? Because they want you to shut up. They want you to quit bitching. They want you to quit complaining.
That's so true.
So it's like you hear a baby screaming its head off. Guess what a parent does? Runs in there, sticks a bottle in its mouth. Why? Well, to get the baby to shut up. But they're assuming that screaming means they're hungry. What if a bottle doesn't make a baby stop crying? What do? We keep trying to figure out what's making this baby cry. We don't sit there and tell the baby to have patience. We're watching our fucking program. Hey, we'll check on the baby when we're done with lunch. The baby can wait. The baby should learn patience. No, dude, you're worried. You're fucking worried about what's wrong with this baby. Now, when we get older, what do? We tell them to have patience. They want this. They want that. Daddy, I want this. Mommy, I want that. Well, just have patience. They don't have the answers themselves.
That's right.
They don't realize that patience is not the answer. Guess what they were told?
Have patience.
Yeah, they were told to have patience. That was bullshit advice. Guess what? That is me learning the hard way. I had to die to learn patience is not what you're looking for when it comes to success. So there's a lot of people out there, I swear to you, because I talk to a lot of them, that believe they should just be patient. Things take time. I'm not going to worry that after 3 years I haven't reached my goal. I've been told and educated to be patient, and that's what I'm going to choose instead. No, bitch. Get upset. Increase your action. Increase your intensity. Increase your demands. Increase, man. Anyway, that's
Wow.
that's one example. Now, I was touched on the head by Elvis at 7 years old. That story's in there. I got fired for doing a great job. What lesson does that teach you? I got fired for doing the unbelievable job, best job anyone's ever seen. I got fired for doing it. Why would you get fired for doing the best job ever? I thought all you have to do is do a good job. Is that all you have to do is a good job?
I guess not.
Well, then what's the rule, John?
You have to know the right people maybe, or be the one
see, you better get the book, John.
Oh, I'm going to pre-order the book. Absolutely.
And by the way, those pre-orders, if anyone wants a pre-order and it's still available by the time this podcast drops, you go to the pre-order page. It'll either be up or down. If you pre-order a book, it's going to be a limited edition signed copy. When someone says, what does that mean? Just trust me. Number one, it'll be signed. And number two, it'll be limited edition, meaning that book will be special somehow, some way. I don't know how, but I'll think about it.
I love it.
It's going to be a limited edition signed copy. So go pre-order your book. But hey, I'll tell you all the secrets if you want. So people don't even need to buy a book. You know, it's just stories. But like, you know, Elvis touched me on the head. I was walking up the hill one day with my friends. Swear to God, I held out my hand and I said, what would you do if a bird just shit in my hand? And dude, it's not 1 second after I finished saying that, a bird shit in my hand. Bird shit hit my hand. Not 1 second after I said, what would you do if a bird just shit in my hand? And I put my hand out in front of me. And as soon as I did, a bird shit in my fucking hand. Do you believe that?
I do. I'm just trying to figure out the lesson. Is it you get what you ask for? Or?
No, but it's 100% true. It is the true, like you wouldn't believe. It's very hard to believe. Like, what are the chances? Well, that's the question. What is the lesson in that? And in my opinion, I can teach a million lessons off that. But the book itself, and by the way, I haven't even finished the book, so I can revise it based on this conversation. However, one of the lessons that teaches you is anything, folks, is possible.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, people don't believe that, John. Do you think it's possible for you to listen, answer the truth, pay attention and answer the truth? Do you think it's believable and likely and possible, which are all three the same words, that you will have $1 billion in your bank account by the end of 2021?
Absolutely.
You think it's possible?
I think it's possible.
Okay, if you really believe that, because most people don't, and people listening right now are going to be like, hell no. Well, that's what most people do, and it's called limited belief. So you're never going to make $1 billion if you don't think it's possible. So what did I learn the hard way? I spent freaking up till 30 years old, you know, living like a freaking dipshit, believing that it wasn't possible. I didn't believe multi-millionaires were like, all you have to do is make a decision and start getting it. Otherwise, I'd have got it when I was 20 years old. Like I would have at 18, I'd have been freaking a millionaire. I didn't think it was possible. You got to work hard. You got to freaking put in the time. You got to be patient. You gotta, you know, pay your dues, you know, all that stupid shit we're taught.
Right. What led to you finally making the decision to believe it was possible? Like, was it somebody you heard, something you read, or is it an experience that you had? Like, what created that lasting, like, belief, like once and for all?
Evidence. Okay. The fact that I've done it is proof that anyone can do it. And now I am convinced because I have the benefit of hindsight. I can look back and see what I did and why it worked and what didn't work. When in reality, all the lessons and things that I've been taught from parents, grandparents, schools, society, friends, parents, social media, advertising, you know, society, the law, the government, you know, religion, faith, all the things I've learned is basically me looking back at all the things I've learned. So again, like there's things in 10 years I'll know that I don't know today. So I constantly seek learning and development and growth and information. Like I love information.
Gotcha. So now you're obviously incredible. And one of the things that I think a lot of my friends know you for is just being an unbelievable salesman, a great closer. Now, I wanted to get your take on this because I was thinking about, you know, some of the things that you're doing, because from me looking outside in at what you're doing, it seems like on the fast track to becoming, a household name. I see you all over social media. I see your podcast, your YouTube channel. Do you believe that there's a gigantic difference between sales and marketing? Can you be successful being great at one without the other? Or are you personally focusing a lot more on marketing now?
Well, it's a great question. And I think as times change, so would my answer. Sales and closing was very instrumental in my success. And you need that skill. You need to learn how to sell and close, even if you're not in sales, because everyone's in sales. Now you might think, what does that mean? Again, I say because you're not in sales, because people think, oh, I'm not in sales. Everyone's in sales. You're selling since the day you're born. So you need to master the art of persuasion and closing and sales. Why? Because anything in life, you're going to need those skill sets. So I would recommend anybody, accountants, housewives, house husbands, I don't care who you are, you need the ability to sell, close, and persuade people. Now, a lot of times, again, because of our programming, we think that that's using people. We think that that's unfair. We think that's sleazy. Salespeople are sleazy. Salespeople are liars. Salespeople are pushy. Salespeople are, look, all these people have this bad image of a salesperson. Why? Because someone that was a salesperson didn't understand how to do it right, and they offended people. And enough of these untrained, poor salespeople existed to give the whole damn industry a bad name. But if everyone was a professionally trained salesperson, closer, and persuasion expert, everyone would want to be one of those. Why? Because those people get anything they want. Like if you're great in sales, you can be, rich. But if you're a great closer, you're going to be wealthy. Anyway, so you need sales and closing no matter what you do. And people don't realize that they're a salesperson. Right. So I would recommend that everyone learns that skill. And then what was the other question?
Yeah, so I'm asking because I love sales. I love face-to-face, but I see a lot of people, they're scared to death of it. And so they pursue marketing instead. And they're just trying to figure out how to write really great offers so that they don't ever have to be face-to-face with somebody. And I know that that's necessary, and I'm learning myself a lot of copywriting and things like that. But I just wanted to see your take on, do they flow together? Can you be successful with one without the other? What's kind of your perspective on it?
Well, anything is possible. So you're always going to hear that from me because anything's possible. But what's likely? Well, what's likely is you need to now focus on marketing more so than sales, because companies are their false belief is that they have sales teams, so they're good at sales. All I need are customers. And marketing is, hey, get me some customers, get me some interested parties, get people to know who I am, get people to know and like my brand with ads and copy and media buy. And, marketing gets the phone to ring. Sales is what happens when they answer it. If you don't have a good sales team, but you have an unbelievable marketing team, you can make a ton of money without having sales down very well. Why? Sheer volume of people calling, wanting your product, because the marketing team did a fucking amazing job. However, that's not to say just because you're making millions of dollars that your sales team doesn't suck. Fucking train your sales team and now get both. And now you're going to 10x, 20x your revenue. So again, what's more important, sales or marketing? Dude, they're both equally important when it boils down to it. Can you survive on one without the other? Yes. I sold my way to 8 figures a year. Okay. I didn't market hardly at all, if at all. But when people say, what do you mean? The little thing that says powered by Lightspeed, that's marketing. Right. So technically, yeah, I marketed on accident, but I was never intentional. And to answer your question, yes, right now I'm about to get very intentional. At 2020, you will see a lot of Bradley only because I've learned from all the 20 years I've been doing this. Everything you need to know to make millions of dollars selling skill and packaging it and helping people improve their lives, coaching, mentoring, speaking, training. The expertise that I've amassed over the last 20 years is extremely valuable to businesses and individuals. So in 2020, took me a while to package it up, create the workbooks, the fundamental curriculum, the pricing models to make sure everything is win-win, because that's the only way I operate, which, by the way, goes back to the book. And that's why I got fired for doing a good job. my dad didn't give me an allowance unless, once in a while he'd give me some money, but
Sure.
normally he'd make me go figure it out on my own. So I knocked on this door, asked if I could pull weeds. This guy's helping this kid make a couple bucks for the weekend. The kid, the neighbor at the bottom of the hill says, sure, go ahead. Here's a bucket, 5-gallon bucket. I'll give you a quarter a weed. Go out in the yard and pull some weeds. Well, my grandpa taught me how to pull weeds with one finger right at the root. So, I could pull a weed like nobody's business. I walk up to a dandelion and trust me, dude, it's losing and quick, root and everything. There's this one finger move that I can just, wrap it around and pop. So I'm sitting out there basically like picking quarters up off the ground, putting them in a bucket. This guy thought I'd go pull 10, 15, 20 weeds and come back. I sat there and pulled over 800 weeds. This guy's freaking yard was it was weeded. So I pulled so many weeds, he literally could count them out. And he fired me because he owed me a couple $100 and he didn't. So what's the lesson?
You can't be fired for doing a good job.
That's what happened. The lesson that I learned that I think everyone should learn in life before it's too late so they don't pay the price is everything needs to be win-win, my friend. Don't try to be the sumbitch that gets, the big pie all the time. Like if it isn't win-win, it's not going to last. That's the lesson. If you're in a business situation and you are screwing people and you are getting over on people, it will not last, folks. So if you right now are thinking, well, man, I'm getting the best end of this deal, you better start figuring out how to change that and add more value and, correct that, because I'm telling you, dude, if you want it to last, win-win is necessary.
That's a really, really great lesson. And I want to take a minute, if you don't mind, to pivot back into your story, because I want not only to give the audience a little bit of context on why they have to go get your book, but you've had some really incredible, and I don't know the full story. I know that you got into selling cars and you developed a really powerful skill set and tried to scale it. But I just feel like your transition from that into owning a software company that powers some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world is just really incredible. And I just wanted to see if you could share a little bit about that journey.
Well, sure. It was kind of an accident. So about 30 years old, I decided to help somebody that worked in the back for minimum wage. And I helped them make more money by teaching them to sell and close and persuade. That's what I was very good at. I could teach people all day long, managers how to be better managers, salespeople how to be better salespeople, closers how to be better closers. And I did it naturally. So I became very, very good at it. And so I met this guy. He worked in the back, minimum wage, Mexican dude, had a great family, 2 little kids, didn't make much money, but they were really good people. And so I'm thinking, dude, I can help you make more money. Let me show you. So I changed his life by basically going from minimum wage to 15 grand a month in a short period of time. So man, their Christmas was better. Everything was better. They were so grateful. And I felt like, man, this is cool. This is awesome. I want to do this for a living. So I quit my job and said, I'm going to go do this full time. I could make more money. I could help more people. Like, dude, this is going to be great. So I quit my job. I went out on the road and I started trying to get people to give me 10 grand to show up and train their people. So I became a trainer with my subject matter expertise and my, briefcase and my suit. I went and knocked on doors and said, let me train your team and I'll turn them around for you. Well, people would start to pay me $10,000 a day, $5,000 a day. They'd put 20 people in a room and I'd say the same shit, but they didn't get better. It wasn't working like it used to, and I couldn't figure out why. So ultimately I did the research and I found 4 key ingredients absolutely necessary to effectively train somebody. Most companies are not delivering effective training. They're delivering exposure, and they're wondering why it's not very effective. Well, as we know, you can get arrested from exposure. We could die from exposure, depending on the exposure. So nothing good comes from exposure, okay? Especially near grade schools. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't be exposing people to information if we want them to actually learn it. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay, companies are basically just exposing because they don't have these 4 ingredients that I discovered in my research. And the 4 ingredients, when properly executed, make the difference between, 0 to hero. So I realized that this is not possible to go around the world and train people in person manually inconsistently and get exhausted, miss my family, live on the road, live out of a suitcase. So I thought, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. So that's when I invented Lightspeed. I invented Lightspeed for myself, and I needed it to solve these 4 key ingredients or be able to deliver it. And so I found a company and a couple of people that could build it for me. Long story short, ended up building Lightspeed for myself. It worked so well that I ended up showing it to other subject matter experts because I knew that they were having a problem and I didn't really want to compete with them. So I just went and started showing my technology that I built for myself. I didn't build it, a team did. Right. But so I showed the technology that we built for me and I said, I'll take my name and my content out. You put your name and your content on, and then you can go sell courses. Now, keep in mind, I was the first one selling courses ever. So all these people you see selling courses now, 20 years ago, they weren't selling anything. I was selling courses 20 years ago. I was the first, I believe, the first person online to train and coach online. But anyway, so I started showing everybody else, and everybody else, it worked for them too. And then I just decided, I'd rather not compete with all these trainers. Let me just support all these experts. And once I supported all the experts and I went and closed them all to use my platform and just give me a little piece of their business, of their revenue, then they started selling it to the businesses. Well, now the businesses saw the technology and they're like, well, how come we're not using this for everything? And so now, they started wanting it. Now, we're doing millions and millions of dollars, and we got the most advanced interactive training technology on earth. People are using it now to screen applicants, to generate marketing campaigns, email campaigns, Facebook digital marketing campaigns. Like it's really a tool now. It's evolved into an unbelievable technology that focuses on getting people to learn what's in it, which is the only one out there. Like most systems out there, John, right, they're designed to host videos or host PDFs or host files. Mm-hmm. They're not designed to get people to actually learn the files or the videos. Ours is an actual learning system. Theirs is a learning management system. There's a big difference. And the 4 ingredients that mine allow you to deliver, which I'm sure if you've been listening this whole time, you already want to know what they are.
I was just about to ask you.
Well, here's what they are. Number 1, you need good content, because if you train them effectively to do it wrong, they'll do it wrong. So you need the right way to do it in the first place. Most companies possess the knowledge. They possess the good content. Second thing you need is repetition. Most companies fail to deliver repetition. They usually make people go through a training once, check a box, call them good. That's not good. That's why school is 12 years, not 12 days. Okay, that's why we say our ABCs a million times, and that's why we know them even to today, because of repetition. So repetition is usually what's lacking, but that's what's necessary. Third one is practice and role play. Most people might educate somebody and get them to understand and learn, but they don't give them the ability to implement and practice it. So they're a little more uncomfortable than they should be. They're a little less familiar than they should be. So practice is the third one. And then the fourth and final, and most people are terrible at this one, is accountability. There has to be accountability. There has to be mechanisms in place to make sure that people are actually doing it. It's like I bought a treadmill one time. Some bitch didn't work for like 3 years. I didn't lose a damn pound. And then someone showed up and they're like, well, is it plugged in? Oh, it needs to be plugged in. Oh, do you ride it? Oh, you need to ride this thing? I just thought I'd buy it and I'd lose weight. No. You got to use it, stupid. You got to use it. So accountability is key. Most companies, they just believe people. Like, hey, were you on the webinar, John? Yeah, I was on the webinar. Okay, cool. So you know how to operate that new machine? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. Go operate the machine. Now all of a sudden, you just got your hand chopped off. And I'm wondering, what's the problem? The problem was you didn't train them. You exposed them to safety training on a new machine. You exposed them. You didn't train them. Train them takes good content, repetition, practice, and accountability.
So this is why I'm sure you probably laugh at a lot of the personal development junkies that read a million books but don't really apply any of it because they're just exposing themselves to these books. They're not really learning them.
Well, any book at all worth one read is worth multiple reads. Anybody that says they read the Bible once and want to start a church, I would question.
Me too. I would as well. So, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but was it hard to build this platform, not having tech experience, software experience? Did you just figure it out, or did you just get lucky and find the right people?
I got lucky and found the right people. I envisioned it and I could describe it. And so when I found the right people, they were able to interpret my craziness and try to build me close to what I was describing. It's never been everything I've wanted. It's always been the best they could do. In other words, I've never built Lightspeed like I wanted it. It's always as good as I could have basically described to the techies that can build it. Because look, you need programmers and, you know, all kinds of different technicians and developers and IT specialists to actually build a platform like ours. But even if you come, let's say you're one of the top people in the country, come look at our technology underneath the hood and you'll be like, well, holy crap, I didn't even realize it does all this. Well, that's right. So 20 years of learning what works and what doesn't, user feedback, trial and error. It's almost like Lightspeed has learned the hard way, which is why 20 years later, we have the absolute only learning technology that exists. Because again, someone else can say, well, we use this LMS and you can do the same thing. I would argue that you can't. And not only that, it's like, they would be like, well, how do you figure? Well, worst case, let's say you're really, really close to being able to do what Lightspeed can do. Number one, you can't, because I'll bet you anything you don't have true interactive videos, and you don't have an interactive video tool that makes interactive videos for any purpose, let alone training. But let's just pretend you're close. Okay, so if you put a video online and let someone watch it once and call that training, well, then you're fooling yourself, or you don't care if they learn it. You just want your money. And a lot of these gurus out in the world today, they either don't know that Lightspeed exists, or they don't care that anyone learns their shit. All they want is the money. So again, if you find somebody that they don't give a rat's ass what you learn, they just want your money, well then if I were you, I'd question the validity of that subject matter expert in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So anyone on Lightspeed, number one, cares. Why? Because Lightspeed's not the cheapest option out there. That's why. It's the best option out there. So anybody that saw all the options realized Lightspeed isn't the cheapest, but it's the fucking best. And it will make sure that my student actually learns what's in it. And that's the value you're exchanging with people. So if you're going to ask money for your content, you better make sure people are actually learning what it is you're trying to sell them that you'll learn. Because people don't buy quantity of videos. They buy the result of learning what's in the video. Like, for example, dude, I watch mixed martial arts. Doesn't make me a black belt. So watching videos is not all that it takes. So when you charge me $497 to learn your course and all you give me is a password to some video that I can watch once, and then there's people right now thinking, oh no, you could watch it 1,000 times. Nobody tells me to. I'm not required to. It's not mandatory. It's not being tracked. It's not being measured. It's not being insured upon that it happened. See what I'm saying? Like, nobody cares. They just wanted their $497 or whatever. Because if you use Lightspeed, we'll know that we got you $497, but we'll also know that you only went through it once, and that's not enough to learn. So we would be able to communicate, text you, email you, and tell you, hey, good job so far. We can encourage you, hey, only 6 more times. I know it's tough, but that's what makes the difference. Because that is what makes the difference. Like, go to the gym and do 1 sit-up and leave. Dude, nothing's going to happen. You need repetition. You know why people don't like it? Because it's uncomfortable. Growth comes via discomfort. What do you think most people are trying to do? Get comfortable, be comfortable, find comfort. They seek comfort when in reality, you should seek discomfort. And here's the irony. Like, coffee puts me to sleep. That's the opposite of what it does to most people. Okay? Yep. That's ironic. This is ironic. If you want to be comfortable, seek discomfort. And if you seek comfort, you'll end up uncomfortable. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It reminds me of Jocko. His saying is discipline equals freedom. It's like the irony in there, because it seems like discipline is lack of freedom, but really they go hand in hand. I love that. I love that.
I didn't know that Jocko said that, but that is kind of a dichotomy. I like that. Discipline is what?
Discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, that is pretty clever. I like that. And it's true too, because again, Again, these are life lessons that, listen, 18, 29, 41 people or 41 years old might not know. Why? The path you took, the parents you had, the region you lived in. What have you learned? The education, the system you were in, the environment you were in. What did you learn? Everybody's trying to figure out what they need to learn, when in reality, John, a lot of people need to unlearn. You start hearing people say that nowadays. You know what? Listen, I've been saying that for 10 years. A lot of what you're hearing other people say, I've been saying for 10 years. So it's like, listen, you need to unlearn. Quit worrying about what you need to learn. Start worrying about what you need to unlearn. Like what? Like doesn't grow on trees. Yes, it does. There's no shortage of money. Money's everywhere. We only have 24 hours in a day. Oh, really? That's true? That ain't true. Right now I have 80 times 8. I have 640 hours in a day.
Leverage.
How many do you have?
33 times 8.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? You're not stuck to 24. Who keeps feeding us that shit? Okay. How come somebody's not teaching us to think abundantly? How come somebody's not teaching us to be grateful? How come somebody's not teaching us to build relationships that matter? How come people aren't teaching us how to weed out relationships and find and attract and nurture new ones that are worth having? Which ones are worth having? Which ones are harmful? Well, we've all heard, right? We've all heard that you're the average of 5 people you hang around, right?
That's right.
Well, then why the fuck ain't you hanging around billionaires, dipshit? The answer, well, I don't know how to get around dipshits and make friends with them. Exactly, because nobody's teaching you the right shit.
That's right.
You know what they're teaching you? That George Washington had wooden fucking teeth. Okay, who gives a fuck? He had wooden teeth. Why am I learning this? Well, he chopped down a cherry tree and he said, I shall not tell a lie. Was that George or was that Abraham? Who the fuck was that? Who cares? Quite frankly, how do I build a relationship with a billionaire? You want to learn that? Go to closer school. You want to learn that? Come get me to coach and mentor you. Okay? It'll be the best investment of your life. Why? Because, dude, I had to learn the hard way. I got friends. I can email and text celebrities, CEOs, massive people that literally charge $10,000 an hour just to consult with them. I can call and bullshit with them on a Saturday. I can show up at their house at 11 o'clock at night and ask them for a spare room as I'm drunk, damn near. Meaning I make real friends with people, real relationships. How do you do that? Do you know how, John?
Not as well as you.
Did you think that's a valuable skill to have?
Absolutely.
Then why don't the schools teach that?
Industrial age philosophies, maybe. I guess
that's right. Antiquated bullshit. Old ways of doing things and old ways of thinking. Listen, when times change, people need to change. So to go back to your question, sales or marketing, the answer is both. It's always going to be both. One time I went to the Golden Knights. My wife wanted hockey tickets. She liked hockey. I couldn't stand hockey. We show up. We look at these seats, just taking a look. Didn't need to buy anything, but darn it, she said, let's go take a look. We go take a look. There's these glass seats right up on the glass. Of course, if you're cool, that's where you sit. It's glass. Everybody wants to be on the glass. I said, okay, cool. There's some glass seats. Fine. If you like hockey, let's get them. Well, let's go look at the suite, she said. I'm like, why would we look at the suite? She said, just to see what they look like. I'm like, I'm not buying a suite, babe. They're like $300,000. I'm not buying a suite. Like, what do we need to go look at it for? She said, just to see what they look like. I'm like, okay, well, let's go see what they look like. I walk in. Holy shit, dude. You know why they're called suites? Because they're sweet. So ultimately, I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. So the guy that's showing us both, he's like, okay, which one? And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, what do you want? The glass seats or the suite? Guess which one I picked?
The suite.
Both. The answer is both, bro. Hey, you want a Rolls Royce or a Lamborghini? Both. Hey, you want that car or that car? Both. Hey, do you want to be happy or be rich? Both. Is it sales or marketing? Both. But the answer leans towards marketing nowadays. Why? Right. Digital marketing, internet. I can reach 1 billion people on Facebook. I can target them. You couldn't do that before. You had to advertise on the television. You had to get to people some other way. And now you can connect with them with a swipe of a fucking thumb. So you better learn digital marketing. And if you're not learning digital marketing, you're an idiot. But if you ask me, if you want the hard lesson from Brad Lee, the answer is both, man. You need to do both. You need to train your people to take care of the customers that you're driving into your business. So if you master marketing, you're going to get a whole bunch of customers. If you develop your people, you're going to make 10 times the money than you're making right now. I don't care who you are. Why? Because you're training your people. I see people spend 50 grand on advertising to drive people in their door. And then I'm like, well, how do you train them? And they don't train them. Mm. It's like you're spending 50 grand to drive people through your door, but yet you're investing zero to make sure those people know how to be treated. Like, dude, that's irresponsible. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. We're kicking ass. We're making millions. Dude, just because you're making millions doesn't mean you're kicking ass. It means that maybe you should be making billions, but it's hard to tell people they need you or they're doing something wrong when they're so successful doing what they're doing. There is such a thing as doing things wrong successfully.
Absolutely.
Like I know companies that make millions of dollars, and if they hired me, I'd show them how to make tens of millions of dollars. And what would I do? It boils down to it, train their people. I'd increase the ability of the people that they're driving all the traffic to. Their conversion rates are like 4 to 9%, and they're high-fiving each other because that's very lucrative. Well, dude, what if their conversion was 40 to 90%? How much more lucrative would it be? Well, train your people, leverage interactivity, allow your content to adapt to the person. Don't force the person to adapt to the content. Just like, listen, I'm going to adapt my products to my clients, not force my clients to adapt to my products. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Well, you do the same thing with information. If you're driving people to a video that doesn't ask questions, it doesn't adapt, it doesn't change, it doesn't upsell, it doesn't offer, it doesn't equip, it just plays. That's all it does. It's a video that plays. I call them dead videos. Well, then you're driving people to a dead video. Why would you spend all that time and money to drive people to a video that doesn't ask any questions and it doesn't change based on the person watching it?
That's a great question. You wouldn't.
Yeah, because you don't know any better, kids. That's why. And if you don't know, now you know. And if you do know and you don't do it, it's because you're irresponsible. Or you're just one of those people that just want the fucking money. You don't really care if anyone learns your shit or not. Because guess what? My technology is not even more expensive than the rest of them. There's a different business model with it that applies. And again, only scarcity mindset people don't like it. All my clients who are abundant mindset love it. Matter of fact, their goal in life is to write me a check every month as big as possible. But you know what? Life lesson number 7, win-win, dog. Win-win. If you do business with me, you're going to win. How do I know? Because I won't do business unless it's win-win. That's how you know. I don't want your money. I don't want your business. You know what I want? I want a win-win scenario where I'm helping you and you're helping me and we're in perfect exchange of value. You talk great about me and I talk great about you. Isn't that really what we want?
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude, like contracts, I do month to month. People think I'm crazy. I'm like, look, if I can't keep your business, I don't deserve your business. What am I going to do? Lock you into a 2-year deal where you're wanting out 6 months later because I didn't deliver and now I got you by the balls? Well, who wants to be in a relationship like that?
Yep, nobody. There's a lot of people that do it too. That's the crazy thing. So, Brad, I know we're almost out of time and this has been an adrenaline rush of an interview, and I appreciate that. I just had a couple really quick questions, if you don't mind. First one is, when you are in your book and when you're speaking on stage, you're doing your podcast, what is the main message that you are trying to get through to people on these platforms? If there was one message that you're trying to get through to people, what would that message be?
Well, it depends. When you say these people, what people?
The audience. When you're speaking, for instance, at the 10X conference and you're speaking in front of 10,000 people and you have a window of time to deliver maximum value, what is that main point that you're trying to get through before they leave to create that win-win?
Dude, it's hard because the win-win would be dependent on who I'm exchanging with. So like, for example, if you hired me to come speak to your group, you're writing me a check for 25 grand to come out there for an hour and talk to your group. My exchange is with you. And I would say, what would you like them to walk away with? What result do you want them to achieve during my time with them? And if you say it's up to you, again, I like to talk about, overall life lessons. Why? Because you can apply a lot of things to sales. You can apply a lot of things to relationships. There's 4 key areas that you have to be familiar with. Okay. Number 1, you have to have the proper headspace, right? Your mind. Okay. If you have the right mindset, You're going to be happy no matter how much money you have. And isn't that the key? A lot of people say, forget money, just be happy. That's what's important. No. That's where it starts, folks. That's where you begin. You begin at a level where you're happy with nothing. And that's a good place to be. It's not the best place to be. The best place to be is fucking satisfied with billions of dollars and choices and freedom and options. So most people are taught, hey, don't worry about money, just seek happiness. No, dude. Money allows you to be happy because it gives you choices, options, and freedom. So money is not the thing you're looking for. It could be worthless. You could be unhappy with money. But when you have money, happiness is easier to attain. Why? Because you have choices, options, and freedom. And that's what happiness actually is. And everybody determines what that means to them. Maybe I want to go help people in the hospital save their children with terminal illness. That's what I want to do with my money and my options and my choices and my freedom. And it makes me fulfilled. I'm happy helping children escape terminal illness, right? Well, maybe someone else's happiness is helping single moms find shelter. See what I'm saying? So who's right? Who's wrong? Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong, man. Your happiness is up to you. Happiness is a choice. So first it starts with a mindset so you can become happy with nothing. I can be happy on a beach homeless. That's where it starts. Once the mindset is right, the confidence, the swagger, your style, your skill set starts to need to become more important. So now start a little education in that department, skill set. Third one, now once you have your skills and your mind right, your money's going to come. You got to have your money right. Okay, so now the money allows you to buy the health and the body and the Botox and the silicone implants and the fucking dermabrasions and all the bullshit that you need to be fucking sexy. Why? Why do you need to be sexy? Because, dude, we're being judged every day. Quit listening to the bullshit that thou shalt not judge. Ain't no one listening to that. I wish they were, but they're not. Okay, you're being judged every second. I'm being judged right now. Someone's driving around in their shitty old truck listening to this podcast right now, judging me. I'm aware of it. I'm okay with it. I judge people. Do you judge people, John? Don't say you don't, because you'd be lying.
I do. Good.
We're all judging each other. So guess what, dude? Put your best fucking foot forward, man. But most people miss that's again, health and body you get with the money. It's expensive nowadays. Then once you have the health, the body, the mind, and the skills, guess what comes after that? The relationships, the love, right? So when people say, what about family? That's relationships. That's love. Okay. What's the most important relationship you can think of, John? If you could literally focus on one relationship, who would it be that could literally change your business and change your life? Who's the one person you can think of that you want a relationship with?
I mean, I'd say yourself.
You lying bitch, because you're hearing my shit, dude. Or you're an enlightened bitch, John. And guess what? I don't care which one, because you just got the right answer. And if you truly believe that, whether you heard it from me or you actually learned that yourself, there's so many people that don't understand that. They're out there trying to worry about everybody else. They're trying to worry about everybody else's opinion, everybody else's thoughts, everybody else's, basically opinion of them, rather than their own, man. The number one relationship you need to worry about is the one you have with yourself, because most people are self-sabotaging their own success. They're limiting their own beliefs, and ultimately it boils down to a self-hate, a lack of self-worth, and a lack of self-love. It would stem from your whole life being educated incorrectly, your whole life you lying to yourself and others, letting yourself down constantly, procrastination, all the things that you're not even consciously aware of have now added up into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind says, this dude's a piece of shit. He doesn't deserve success. He can't even fucking get out of bed on time. He can't even fucking keep a diet when he fucking wants to. This guy's a fucking bum, and he ain't deserving of shit. So guess what it does? It literally starts to manifest all of these fucking options and choices. And what's your reticular activator system doing? It's starting to choose what is worse for you, because your subconscious does not think you deserve to win. You know why? Because you don't have a relationship with yourself, dude. You don't like yourself. You don't think you're worth it. You don't respect yourself. You don't have any worth for yourself. Make sense?
Absolutely. Man,
so
but I think...
How do people fix it's the question. Want me to tell you how you fix it?
Totally.
Okay, next podcast, my friend, because aren't we out of time?
We are, but before, well, obviously they don't have to wait for the next podcast, because if you would tell them where to get your book and where they can find some of your courses, maybe they can get to it faster than that. I know your book is on your website, but there's also something that I really want to recommend to the audience called the Closer School. If you wouldn't mind just sharing where people can access that and how they can access you.
Well, if you want to find me, just go to bradlee.com. That's LEA. Most people say, is that Leah? I say, I don't know. Do you drink Tia? But at the end of the day, go to bradlee.com. I mean, everything I do, everything I think is there. I've got a podcast. I've got, YouTube channels. I've got Instagram posts, coaching, mentoring, speaking, media company, publishing company. You can get my book there. I just go to bradlee.com. It'll probably direct you anywhere you want to go from there. But you can go to droppingbombs.com. You can go to, it's easier to go to bradlee.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll put all of the links in the show notes for the audience. Brad, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. You kept it unbelievably real on this show. And I know that everybody's going to appreciate that, especially me. I really appreciate this conversation. It really means a lot.
Man, I appreciate you having me. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Boom. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, from the great Brad Lee. I hope some of his quick wit resonated with you and just helps you go out and either do something more or do something different this week in your own life so that you can get to your goals faster. If you like this interview, make sure you head over to bradlee.com and pre-order his book, The Hard Way. Like he said, his last name is Lee, spelled L-E-A and not L-E-E. Also, take a minute today and follow us on Instagram at Mentor Nation Podcast and say hello. We love communicating with you guys. If you have feedback, ideas, things that we can do to make the show better, more entertaining, we would love to hear from you. Over the next few weeks, I am putting together some amazing content from the guests that I'm interviewing, as well as guides, cheat sheets on how I'm connecting with all of these people, getting them on the show, and developing relationships with them. Expect amazing things coming soon from Mentor Nation. I hope all of you are having a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.